First, let's take you to KwaZulu-Natal, where workers at a fresh produce market in Pietermaritzburg have raised concerns after a colleague tested positive for COVID-19. Our reporter Karinda Jagmohan joins us live from Pietermaritzburg. Karinda, good morning to you. As informal traders get the go-ahead and secure permits to start working, we are learning now that there are concerns at a fresh produce market. Tell us about the incident and really just give us a sense of what's happening there.
Yes, good day to you. We understand that a person in the management position here at the fresh produce market in Pietermaritzburg tested positive for coronavirus. Now, while that person has been self-isolating, workers here have raised concerns because, of course, while the person had symptoms, they were here at this venue, and of course workers concerned because of the congestion inside the venue and the close working environment together that this virus could spread. Now, early this morning, the MEC for the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development conducted an oversight visit here along with members of the Msunduzi municipality to look at the condition of healthcare workers here in this local market generally. And prior to the lockdown and spread of COVID-19, people were working very close together, so of course as to house as many farmers as possible here in order for them to be able to sell their fresh produce. Now, this must change. The way in which the workers are doing and conducting their business needs to change urgently, and that is what the oversight visit was about. Also to hand out sanitizers and other hygienic products so that as people are coming here to buy their fresh produce goods, they are protected and the workers themselves are protected. Now, it is of course for concern. The MEC has raised concerns about panic buying, because if there is continuous panic buying, food prices will have to be hiked in order to accommodate now the increasing need to produce that food. Just to also tell you, small-scale farmers and communal farmers now have an opportunity to seek assistance from the National Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. The Minister Toko Didiza has announced that 1.2 billion rand will be available for small-scale farmers. Of course, they need to apply for this assistance. The application date opens tomorrow and ends later in the month. They have 2 weeks to send this application out, and these are for farmers who've been severely affected by the lockdown. Their entire livelihood depends on producing fresh produce goods, but if they're unable to come out to these areas to of course make sales, they will obviously be unable to continue with their own livelihoods. I must also tell you that there is a critical issue in the northern parts of KZN at this moment. There is the attack of fall armyworms or African armyworms at farms in those areas. Now, this is of course extremely critical, because if these armyworms continue to unfold in this area, there will be a threat to food security there, and farmers there will have trouble, of course, further selling their goods, farming their goods, selling their goods, and of course earning their livelihood. So currently, this assistance to small-scale farmers is extremely important, especially here in KZN as we're entering the flood season, and farmers need that critical help.
With the funding relief, what are some of the conditions that farmers need to meet, and the commodities that will be covered by these funds?
Well, the farmers need to be South African citizens and have to be involved in farming fresh produce, vegetables, as well as meat products for a minimum number of 12 months. They have to have been involved in doing this as part of their business. They also have to prove that they are small-scale farmers. Of course, this is depending on their turnover. Now, also just to tell you, going forward, there are other means besides online avenues to apply for this assistance, monetary assistance. This includes contacting your local unions to assist you, because in many areas there is no access to internet or database services. So the local agricultural unions have also been called upon to assist small-scale farmers in this regard at this very critical time. And again, even the Minister, Toko Didiza, has warned residents of South Africa against panic buying, because if you continue to increasingly buy large amounts of food that you don't need at that moment, food prices will have to be hiked in order to cover the urgent need to then reproduce food for other South African citizens who do need that food.
And very lastly, before we let you go, just speaking to the situation behind you with one person in that building having tested positive for COVID-19, with the rollout of testing kits and, access to testing centres, what sort of measures are in place to ensure that the very concerned staff there have access to testing?
Well, of course, via the Department of Health, these staff must now be screened for symptoms of COVID-19 and further be tested should they have those symptoms. We understand that the person who was tested positive for the virus is currently in isolation. The workers here, besides raising concerns about COVID-19, they've raised concerns about their own working conditions, as of course they continue to unroll their business. They were in urgent need of sanitizers, of masks, among other things, so they can protect themselves from businesses. That has been provided here, we understand. It's unclear whether there's sufficient amount of sanitizers and protective equipment for the people here. But another warning that they've given caution to is simply the washing of fruits and vegetables. They say that it is unclear when you're touching the foods with your hand and passing it around as you're of course trading these goods, what is spreading on these foods. The workers here, as well as health officials, have urged residents that if you are purchasing any fresh food items, to make sure that you wash this under hot water before of course consuming it, and to be cautious of what you're allowing into your home, which should be your place of safety during the lockdown, to ensure that as you continue doing this, you're sanitizing what comes into your house to protect yourself against the transmission of COVID-19.
For now, thank you very much. Our reporter Karinda Jagmohan just monitoring the streets of KwaZulu-Natal, bringing us the very latest developments around the impact of coronavirus